We've been ripped off 80 billion with a B through housing and property in a land and wealth transfer from the Commonwealth to the corporates. Now the CFMEU inquiry exposes Australia's biggest $15 billion corruption scandal. That'd be that, what's his name, Setka, wouldn't it? John Setka, is it? Head of that CFMEU? The union that Communist John Wilson set up? Get that in there.
This is officially the ugliest corruption story Australia has seen in a very long time. A bombshell inquiry has uncovered damning, stomach-turning allegations of industrial-scale rorting and rip-offs connected to Melbourne's big build projects. The worst part is that government tried to redact the most explosive bits. They actually tried to bury it, that it came out anyway.
Well, we can say this is Australia, we're a democracy, it's supposed to be a democracy. If we want to withdraw our labour, we'll withdraw it. If they fine us hundreds of thousands of dollars, we'll say be it.
Hey guys, it's Scott here. I know you must be exhausted hearing about government failures at this point. 1 week it's budget blowouts, the next week it's new taxes, and then it's housing promises that simply don't stack up. Then it's another economic warning. I get it, there is scandal fatigue, but this one is different because this isn't about policy incompetence or bad forecasting. This is about allegations that billions of dollars of your hard-earned tax money may have been swallowed by corruption, intimidation, criminal infiltration, and outright rorting on projects you were told were being built for your future. There has been an inquiry, and there is now a report, and what is being alleged is that up to $15 billion, and possibly double that, of taxpayer money, your money, may have been burned through a system that insiders are describing as rotten from the top. And the details are not minor administrative mistakes. We are talking about allegations of extortion, ghost shifts, fake jobs, criminal figures embedded in sites, distribution on government projects, and behaviour so shameless that it makes you question how this was allowed to run for years without someone pulling the handbrake. So in this video, I'm going to do what the media never does properly. I'm going to explain this entire scandal in plain English. I will break down what the investigation was actually looking at, what CFMEU and Big Build have to do with it, what the $15 billion figure really means, what was allegedly redacted, and most importantly, how this ties back to you, your taxes, your cost of living, and the financial pain Australians have been dealing with for the last 2 years. If you want property and the economy explained without spin, hit subscribe. Let's get into it. Alright, let me slow this down and explain what this investigation is actually about in simple terms. This story starts with a report and an inquiry into corruption on taxpayer-funded construction sites in Victoria, especially on the government's infrastructure program called Big Build, which is the umbrella name for all the massive road and rail projects being built with your money. For example, Metro Tunnel, North East Link, level crossing removals, suburban rail loop, and all of that. The inquiry is looking at the corruption connected to the CFMEU and others, which is a construction union that represents workers on major building sites. On big government projects, unions have real influence because if work stops, delays cost millions, even billions. That leverage is supposed to protect workers and improve safety and pay. The allegation is that this environment became a perfect storm. Instead of money simply paying for roads and rail, insiders are now claiming parts of the system were infiltrated and manipulated. Corruption actually inflated project costs by somewhere between 10 and 30%, with a conservative estimate of 15 billion of losses to the taxpayer. And some insiders are saying it could actually be closer to 30 billion. And if you're thinking surely someone in government would have noticed this and tried to stop it, that's where the story gets even darker. Because the allegation isn't just that corruption happened. The allegation is that it went on for years while the government officials chose to keep the public in the dark. They knew about it and did nothing. Now let's talk about what the report actually claims was going on, because this is the part that should make you absolutely furious. Let's get this straight. You work very, very hard, and in many cases up to half of what you earn goes to the government in taxes. This is your money we're talking about. Now let me tell you what was actually uncovered, because this is where your blood should absolutely start boiling. The report exposed a system where taxpayer-funded infrastructure projects were turned into cash machines for corruption. There were so-called ghost shifts. This is where people were paid twice for the same hours. One payment from a labour hire company, another from the contractor, both funded by you, the hard-working taxpayer. There were roles created that did not need to exist. Delegates and site representatives earn $200,000 a year. Some of them are not even required to set foot on the worksite. If they did turn up, they were given air-conditioned offices with Foxtel and betting channels while being paid more than many engineers. One unskilled worker for a government site was making up to $15,000 a week in penalties and overtime. These are arrangements that insiders say were completely unnecessary. There were reports of individuals being paid $200,000 a year to essentially hold a stop sign. $200,000 for traffic control on projects you funded. One convicted killer was released from jail and almost immediately appointed to a health and safety role within the Victorian branch on a 6-figure salary. A man who had just served time for manslaughter was put into a position of authority on taxpayer-funded infrastructure. Work sites linked to Victoria's Big Build were described as being used as drug distribution hubs. Outlaw motorcycle gang members were embedded around projects. Underworld identities were allegedly benefiting directly from the money flowing through these sites. Strippers were hired and paid to perform for night shift crews on taxpayer-funded projects. Let that sink in. While you were absorbing higher mortgage repayments, cutting back on groceries, while electricity, fuel, and insurance bills were climbing, while the government told you the budget was under pressure and that we all had to do our bit, your tax money was actually being poured into funding crime. The estimate was put forward as about $15 billion in inflated costs tied directly to this corruption, and that figure was described as conservative. Industry insiders pointed to cost increases closer to 30% on parts of the program, which pushes the potential damages toward $30 billion. That is money that could have gone to hospitals, schools, nurses, police, debt reduction, or genuine cost of living relief. Instead, it was swallowed by a system that insiders say everyone was too scared to challenge, or they were getting a piece of the pie. And the most disturbing part, this did not erupt overnight. Warnings were raised continually. Allegations surfaced. Briefings occurred. Yet the money kept flowing and the projects kept expanding. So the next time you hear about budget blowouts, about deficits, or the next time you are told taxes may need to rise or spending must be cut, remember this, because while you were tightening your belt, billions were circulating through a system that looks nothing like clean governance. Now here's the part that should generally make your blood boil. The government tried to bury it. The most explosive parts of the report, the sections that talked about the $15 billion blowout, the parts of the report that went into government inaction, the sections that questioned the leadership, these were removed from the report or redacted. The logic given was that those parts were outside scope. Outside scope, come on guys. You mean the cost to the taxpayers is outside scope? Government responsibility outside scope? When the number starts to get uncomfortable and when leadership starts getting mentioned, suddenly it becomes too sensitive. Now here is what makes it worse. This didn't just come out of nowhere. There were warnings for years. Industry insiders talked about it, contractors talked about it, people knew. There is no world where government officials did not know about this.
My grandfather used to rave on about it when I was a kid, back in John Wilson's day.
Now, when the $15 billion figure is mentioned, the Premier says it's untested. She resists calls for a royal commission. She has ruled that out. What is she afraid of?
When you get those receive a claim about any corruption or any of this kind of behaviour on a big build site?
When allegations were raised with me, they were referred to the relevant agencies for their action. When allegations were raised with me...
Turn around. You smell that? Your pants are on fire. Oh, my pants are on fire.
She says it would delay progress. She says let's not slow things down. Slow what down? An investigation into where your money went? If you truly had zero to hide, you would welcome the strongest inquiry possible. Instead, what we saw was hesitation. We'll see someone actually dodging responsibility. And here is the most disturbing part. Albo's government representative was the one who directed that sensitive sections of the report be removed before it was released publicly. Those sections only came into public view because of the Queensland inquiry process. If that separate inquiry did not exist, those pages would have stayed buried. So now you have to ask yourself a very uncomfortable question. If this much made it out, how much did not make it out? How much was successfully buried? How much will we never see? That is not a small issue, that is a system problem. Not only have we seen corruption in the whole big build, we've seen it on NDIS, and right now we've got a budget hole of around 57 billion. How many billions of dollars, what other programs are also being rorted right now? Now let's bring this back to you. Governments don't generate money, they collect it. They collect it from you, they collect it from your pay packet. Whenever you spend money on your mortgage, there are some fees there. From your groceries, well, there's GST. From your fuel excise. From your investments, capital gains tax, and many other taxes and stamp duties. We're in the middle of a cost of living crisis. Mortgage repayments have surged. Rents are rising almost 3 times faster than wages. Energy bills are up. The RBA has warned that it could take years to undo the inflation damage linked to government spending. We've been told more rate hikes are actually on the table, and in the middle of all of that, this is what is happening. So let's be clear about something. Either leadership knew and let it happen, or leadership had no idea what was happening under their watch. Either way, neither is acceptable. And what makes people furious is not just the money. It's the silence, and it's the running from accountability and responsibility. Why aren't the top leaders fronting the media directly? Why are statements filtered through others? Now, obviously, what the government will do is try to let this blow over so that we will forget. This is one of the biggest corruption scandals this country has ever seen, and people are expected to absolutely just move on, and that's what they're betting on. You'll let this go, you'll forget about this, and it will become history. This is not political theatre. This is about whether you can trust the people running a $100 billion infrastructure program with your money. It's about whether your taxes are being used to build your country and build your future, or being siphoned off into a corrupt system where you're being told to tighten your belt. Us Aussies absolutely deserve answers. We deserve transparency, and we deserve leadership that treats taxpayer money like it actually matters. Let me know what you think. Does this pass the smell test? Do you think we're getting the full truth?
No, absolutely not. Like, what's it going to be tomorrow? It's crazy. Now, just the charges I'm going to come up and call them. Yeah, I'm honest. No, I've already admitted it plenty of times before. There's a minor possession charge. I've already took that one. Already pleaded on that one. That was given to me. I also happen to know I was set up. That's my bad. Nobody else's. Nothing to beat me over the head with. If you've been through the life I've been through, I'm not trying to make excuses either. But unless you have worn my shoes, I've not worn yours. I wouldn't profess to judge you with condemnation either. But details. Failing to pull over for police when indicated to do so by turning on lights and sirens. About 10 houses from my home. Refuse oral fluid test because he lied to me. I'm going to pass it. He lied to me. And he lied to me again. And he threatened me with violence. And I said, no, we're going to have to duke this out in court. And in order to duke it out in court the way I wanted to duke it out in court, I've got to go the hard way about it. For me to face my accuser in court without me, because I don't have the funds, I've got to make them do it. See? This is why it seems worse than it actually is. I've had to take everything on the chin and then go to fight it myself. So I get a lawyer, you know they're going to roll over on me. Refused to submit to taking a blood test. Oh, well, you know, it's my blood, it's my body, autonomy, sovereignty of my own autonomy over my own body. It's my body. You can't make me stick something in my body. And let's be honest, the way things are going lately, I won't even go and get a damn tetanus shot. Was it the police officer? Action. Tensing your arms to prevent handcuffing. Nah, mate. You went, nah, when I said you don't have the right to lay your hands on me, and I was only querying you. I wanted you to give me a lawful reason for an arrest. The thing is, I have to go to them tomorrow and pay $53.90 to get a request for disclosure of information, because I'm representing myself, because I want the conversation out in the open. It's from I'm dragging this out into the open. Now that they all refused to give me their badge numbers and their names, there was about 8 of them in the finish. Yep, we'll give you that. Yep, we'll give you that. But I never got them, so I'm going to get them. Qualified my driver's licence for 2 years, suspended my firearms licence, cleaned my car up for 28 days and left it like that for, 3 months. Bashed me in front of me kids. Over what? 1 point. $50 worth of shit that was in my pocket that he didn't even know I had. It had nothing to do with that. He followed me home because of where I was parked, because he's got a fixation on the bloke where I was parked across the road from. Excuse me. I committed no traffic offences. He admitted there was nothing wrong with me driving, so what? Okay. So, attempt to evade. But there was nothing wrong with me driving. Well, which is it? I committed no traffic offence, but I attempted to evade. It's all on his camera, he's fucked. This is what I mean, like, there's that shit going on, and then this petty shit. I'm not trying to make a big deal out of me. What I'm trying to make a point of is, it's a bit hard to see. That's me standing there with that 700 horsepower Chevy Camaro Super Sedan. That's my father there. Like the Latrobe Speedway with the Commodore, that was like a 400 horsepower Commodore. We raced Super Sedans for like 10 years. Come on, mate. Like, I told him, I said, dude, if I was going to evade you, man, fuck. Like, really? He's like 23 or 24 years old or something. I still to this day hold the record from Port Sorell to Devonport in an SLR Terrain of 4 minutes flat. Actually, I'm not even kidding. The one guy in Burnie they can't catch me. No, I didn't try to evade you, mate. You're a fucking goose. I'm sorry. I'm gonna make you look like an idiot. Why? Because I own my shit. I've already owned it. You've got nothing. But you're all gonna have to come to court and explain yourselves now. In the paper. And I'm all over the newspaper. I'm not doing it for me, I'm doing it for everyone else. I'm standing on this here hill here that belongs to not me. Belongs to Christ. I'm just the meat wagon. Win, lose or draw, the truth's coming out. We need more of that. We need people to go, nah, fuck it, cut me losses. Let's get the truth out, will we? Let's put it all on the table. If you're gonna drag me through, look, it's like this. You're gonna go through the shit anyway. If you're gonna go through the shit, make sure that whoever's putting you through the shit comes through it with you. Simple as that. Otherwise, the rot keeps going, doesn't it? The corruption, the stink, the Masons still keep running everything. You know, they still keep going to the little Masons club up the top of the hill, up near Conzi's mansion up there, with their little boys and their hookers, and in the hotel rooms with the trannies. Right? Conzi still keeps paying some of these dudes from Safe Space and the homeless gronks, like the little blonde-headed gremlin and a couple of others. What's his name? Aaron Brennan. To go and trash places so he can buy them cheap as fuck. What do you think happened to the big building next to the ANZ Bank? That got trashed for a reason. That got trashed for a reason. That's prime real estate. Big 3-story antique place. Well, how do you get it unheritage listed? You destroy it, don't you? But you don't do it. You get the homeless people to do it. This is how rotten this town is. I'm pulling it to pieces.